Hey, dancing friends, it's Paul, Dr. Nacho, with our newest Nacho topping, margaritas and momentum. Margaritas, one of my favorite things, and momentum, also one of my favorite things. This margarita can is quite good. I'll be having it throughout the show. If anyone knows the people at Cutwater and see if they want to sponsor us, that would be awesome. But what margaritas and momentum is for us to learn about interesting people in our dentisting world, how we can move forward with momentum, how we can work on our dentisting core, our mind, our words, our hand skills to be a more successful and less stressed dentisting human. So you can hear from some awesome people today. If you would like to be a guest on a future Margaritas and Momentum, you can just check out the information scrolling by here. You can text Marg to 215-543-6454. So we have our awesome producer, Amanda, who's helping us with this, and she's going to bring up our first guest. Awesome. So we have Charisse, Dental Nachos Connecting Specialist. Charisse, share with our audience who you are, what you do in the dentisting space, and how you help dentists.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Nacho. So I'm Charisse. I am the Dental Nachos Connection Specialist. I really have the privilege of connecting dental professionals to resources that can help them along their journey. I am a retired dental hygienist. I've spent the last 30 years in this wonderful dentist world. So I really feel fortunate to really help those to kind of go back and help those with their journey.
We appreciate it because, I was watching The Lion King with the moderators the other day, one of my favorite movies. In the beginning, they hold up The Lion King. So I'm going to hold up this to represent what happens in dentistry. We're annoyed a lot as dentisting humans, whether it's hygiene or things like that. So what are some of the things you found in being a connection specialist and also being a hygienist? Share with us a little in your journey. Where are some areas that dentists could decrease their own annoyance, increase success, decrease stress? And I know you have a few questions for me.
Yeah, really. I guess, I come across a lot of different struggles. It seems like currently, obviously, with the crazy stuff that's going on in our world today, there's a lot of struggles with PPE as well as with staffing issues as well. So those are probably some of the biggest areas that I'm seeing a lot of people really having some issues within their practices. And it's really nice to know that at Dental Nachos, we have a lot of resources that can actually help them out.
Bonding together to decrease annoyance. So what are some questions you have that I can help you with?
Well, really first question that I have is I'm often asked, what is Dental Nachos? Isn't it just a Facebook group? So can you tell us the history of Dental Nachos? Really, when and why did you start it?
I appreciate it. So if you wear a Dental Nachos t-shirt around in your life, you're going to get some questions from people. What is Dental Nachos? So I want to help you. Basically, Dental Nachos is dedicated to helping dentists be happier, helping their teams be happier, helping their teams be less stressed, and bonding dentists together. Because what happens is I was just talking to the Einstein residents last night, and I said, this is their last year of being kind of normal. Because when you go to dental school, you're with a bunch of people your own age. The misery loves company thing fits well. You're going through the struggle together. Then you might do an AGD or GPR and be with some residents. But after that, you're in your own dentisting cave alone. And you feel isolated, and I make a lot of jokes about it, but also we're going to hear for some serious things about some of the mental health challenges, because being by yourself in an office doing full contact arts and crafts on people who don't want to be there can be an incredibly stressful thing, and dentists need more support in it. And it starts with this. I always say, no one likes the dentist. We may as well like each other. The dental school sets up the dental student Hunger Games. So Dental Nachos is dedicated to undoing that, to create a community, create a sense of collaboration, create more fun, and bringing dentists together to talk to each other for really the first time in history. And through social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, text community, we can do this in cool ways, even during a pandemic.
Yeah, that is great. And I can definitely see the benefits to having this community to the dentist, especially today. So that's awesome.
Awesome. We need to make a subgroup for hygienists one time, hygiene nachos, where everyone can, share and bond through, trying to explain scaling and root planing to people, asking people, when's the dentist going to be in here? Like, I'll just roll my eyes at him one more time and he'll be here, right? That's how it happen. Just like you're going to sprain your eye rolling it so hard over there. So this is kind of a hard point of being a dentist, though. What other job, if you think about it just for a second, you're working on a project and someone taps you on the shoulder and say, could you come in here for 5 minutes and take a break? So I've always found that to be a stressful part. It's a necessary part. You get to see hygiene patients and help them, but not an easy part.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm noticing with a lot of the resources that's within Dental Nachos on the webpage, it's really nice to know that hygienists have the access to that material as well, because they can really see what is going on with the dentist, and it really actually helps them to just create a better bond with their boss there.
I like we have this whole thing. I have my best friend here. Actually, Mrs. Nachos in studio. She really is my best friend. We have another best friend here. It's my phone. And you can learn from your phone. If you're on the Peloton or drinking a margarita, you help our audience with that. Share with us some of the things that you share as a connection specialist and any deals that we have going on at Dental Nachos for the community right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. There's really two great resources that we have on dentalnachos.com that's really available to everybody. We've got first, we've got the Nacho Flix. So Nacho Flix is a subscription-based kind of CE platform, much like Netflix, where the subscribers can watch, can learn, and earn CE whenever and wherever they want, just as long as their subscription is active. So it's a really handy resource that can actually help them get through a tough situation really on the spot. So it's really great. These really are amazing. It can help dental professionals along multiple different stages of their career as well.
I want to share, I mean, my goal was to create something, and we're doing it through Nacho Flix, where you have a problem, you can go to your phone and say, oh, patient complained about insurance. So we have full CE courses, but also micro bits of content, appetizer content, where you can learn about how to explain insurance, treatment plan acceptance, what happens when your amazing team is doing an amazing job fighting over who took the last box of lidocaine. So many resources on there from people in our community. So Nacho Flix is a subscription-based service for people who want to kind of rent this, use it for 1 month or 12 months. And I know you have something else to share with our community too.
Yeah, the other one is our Dental Nachos Encyclocepedia, or as we often call it, our Nachopedia. So the Nachopedia is really, it's a purchased CE package that you get to keep. It's like buying a full set of encyclopedias that fits right in your phone. So you, again, get to carry it wherever, whenever. You don't even need, a huge, library of books trailing along with you. So again, it's a resource that you own. So it's not a subscription. You get to keep it as long as the internet stays active. You get to keep keep it for life. And it really, again, it contains resources, CE, bonus content. There's really a lot of great information in there as well.
And then there was a big moment in my life, and we're the same generation, Trees. Were we going to buy the World Book Encyclopedia or the Encyclopedia Britannica? Spoiler, we got the World Book Encyclopedia. And I remember having it at home and using it over and over again. And one of the things I don't think we appreciate is if you took out the D and looked up the dolphin, there'd be a lot of things from 1987 that still hold true today. So a lot of that happens with dental content. Good principles on restorative dentistry, talking to patients, figuring out treatment plans. So that was my goal with the Nachopedia, to give you a lifetime learning resource you can go back to again and again and again. So if someone wanted to find out more about it, Therese, how could they find that out? I know you have, as a connection specialist, coupons. My dentist people, they love a deal, not on their crown preps. They're $1,400 works of art, but on other stuff they want a deal. How can they reach out to you to learn more about it?
Yeah, they can definitely reach out to me via email at it's Charisse@dentalnachos.com. We definitely have a great deal going on both of these products and all of the products available. I think they're priced appropriately anyway, but starting right now through Sunday, we have a deal. You can save 31% on your entire order using 31 Scare in your cart, in your checkout process.
Kind of you as a connection specialist to offer, and Amanda will put that into our chat. So if you can save now until the end of this weekend, 31% on anything. So you can order $310,000 worth of stuff or $31 worth of stuff, and you can save at dentalnachos.com by using 31 Scare. Well, thanks for kicking off our Margaritas and Momentum show here. Charisse, I appreciate it.
All right.
You and I liked it. And have a great rest of the afternoon.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Charisse. So Amanda will bring up our next guest here in just a second, but that was Sharice, who does a great job sharing what we do at Dental Nachos. Reach out to her, use her as a resource. She almost always has one of those discount codes to offer too. So next, we're now going into the dental school world. We're going to welcome Leora. Leora, orient our audience, BTL yourself, which means bring to life yourself for the audience here. Who are you and where's your place in this circle of dentisting life?
Hello, I'm happy to be here. My name is Leora. I'm a second-year dental student at Tufts, and I like to document my dental journey through Instagram and YouTube.
Awesome. And how can people find you on Instagram? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
They can send me a DM. I'm always open to answer anyone's questions or just chat. My handle is at Leora Hilbert, so just my name.
So we're going to get to some of your questions in a second, but I actually have a good question for you. Do you text more or Instagram DM more? Like which is an easy to get to you?
It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I contact people in so many different ways: Facebook Messenger, text. I do Instagram. All the notifications are on, and I use them all the time.
Yeah, I always talk about mechanisms of connection. I mean, I'm 43 years old. I wake up and I have multiple emails, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But one of the things I'll share, I always like to bring value is, you are a baby age dentist in training, a bad it. I am a medium age dentist, a mad, but don't knock other mechanisms of communication, even if they're not your favorite, because you can get a job and email may be popular. So create an email account dedicated just to your dental life. I send out dental nachos, and sometimes great students, like you say, I unsubscribe. I don't read my emails. I say, you're missing out on so many amazing opportunities to connect with dentists who can hire you. Our Job Connect program, we'll go over some of this at the end. Our Job Connect program, we send out emails with over 40 plus job openings. If you want to get any of those, you can text job to 215-543-6454. So kindly annoy your friends, Leora, to keep up with emails, because you're going to need a job at the end of this. And a 60-year-old dentist is not going to Instagram you, because one day you're going to be 60 and you're not going to hologram someone your age. So it's just the circle of life. So appreciate you sharing this. Now, what are some questions you have for us today?
Yes, I would say my first question is, if you were a dental student right now, how would you utilize the extra free time you have due to COVID?
I love this. I think about, I came from the gym. One of my trainers will be on at the end. You can probably tell by how fit I am. But think about it like working out. If you get injured and you injure your shoulder, you can't do shoulder exercises, but you can do core or leg exercises. It all goes back to this dental core. So I think this is a great opportunity to work on your mind and word skills. If your hand skill part is limited right now due to an injury that you had no control over, COVID, you're not in the clinic as much, you're not in the pre-clinic as much, what can you do with your mind and hands to train that? Can you join virtual Toastmasters to learn how to present? Can you listen to podcasts and take CE courses on stuff that isn't about doing class 2s? Maybe it's about running a practice, managing a team. What's EBITDA? So I would be using my extra time to learn things from my mind and word skills, both inside of dentistry and outside. Podcasts that I love, A Bit of Optimism by Simon Sinek, Everything by Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss. There's great dental podcasts with the Dentalpreneur. Someone put that in with Mark Costas. I've been on a few times. Episode 310 and 311 is from Buying a Practice. I love those episodes that he put out about me. So do some dental, but also do some normal people stuff. Because Leora, I got a surprise for you. Your patients, they're normal people. We are dentist person. Patients, normal people. So learn how to speak to people. Another great tip is How to Speak to People by Amanda, can put it in by a guest lecturer at MIT, Patrick someone. I've listened to that a number of times. So I'd work on your mind and word skills with this downtime. Great question.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, we're not in clinic right now. I'm a second year, so we're supposed to be doing projects, but we're remote. And I was like, should I be trying to assist in someone's practice? I'm not really sure, but I thank you for that advice.
Sure. And before you get to your question, it's easy to get discouraged. I would be discouraged too, but instead of saying, I'll just sit on the couch with my injured shoulder and eat pizza, that sounds fun. You can go and you can work on your core and your legs and other things that you can do. You could even walk and be active. Do that in the dental world. So great one, Leora. What's your other question?
Yes. And my second question is, what are the most important things that you learned while you were in dental school?
the most important things I learned while I was in dental school was watching my instructors do things that I couldn't do now, but I wanted to do later. So what it means is it can be frustrating if you're trying to do a class 1 in 3 hours and your instructor can prep a crown in 15 minutes. But just with my Nacho team and my dental team, I say, hear the words and say the words. This is see the thing and do the thing later. So really, I would, taking from dental school, from some of these high-level instructors you get to watch, and I love your documentation thing. Ask them if you could take photos. They'd probably be honored to do that. Don't violate any HIPAA things in school. I don't even visit the hippos at the school zoo. I'm very afraid of HIPAA. But say to your instructor, hey, because those photos can come in handy later. Even that video, if you watch an instructor prep a crown, say, how did you do that in like 15 minutes? Could I just take a 2-minute video talking to you? And they say, one thing I learned is you always start with the occlusal, never the interproximal. So that is what I would do if I was a dental student. Use these great instructors and know that I can't do what they do now, but I might want to do that later.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure. And before we jump off, I'll give a preview. You've done an amazing thing. We don't have as much time to talk about today, but we're going to do on a future one. Tell everyone what you've done with looking into the cost of dental school. We're going to send this out to our community, but give them a preview of the information you put together.
Sure. So before I started dental school, I wanted to create a resource for the pre-dents that were applying to schools, and I went through every single school's website to see their cost of living and tuition, and I put it on an Excel sheet with interest, so you can see the dramatic differences between what they tell you and actually increased with interest. So it's really eye-opening and insane how much schools are charging right now.
I have a sign here from the Awesome Nachos, and that for you truly is spreading kindness. It's uncomfortable, but what you're doing is you're doing the thing that I don't like at restaurants when you go to get the margarita, and on the side they say, here's how many calories it is. They now you've ruined all the fun. But that's just one meal. This is people's lives. So it's very important for them to go in with full awareness, being prepared, because informed consent for dental school should be like informed consent we give our patients. This is what the cost is. This is what it's going to feel like to pay off. And I think if dental schools were more open with this, they would get candidates that are there for the right reasons, that understand and not get such backlash by not providing this awareness. So I love that you're doing this. We're going to feature you at the end, and we have your Instagram up again at Leora Hilbert. Thanks so much for sharing with us, Leora.
Thank you.
Awesome. So now we have a baby age dentist in training. The awesome Leora doing that great work to share what is the true cost of dental school. Some great questions there. So we're ready for our next guest in a minute. We have the awesome Kyle. So Kyle, you're our first sort of surprise guest. So I won't even share with us what you do in this world, how you know me, and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So my name's Kyle Prescott. I am currently a performance coach. I live down in Richmond, Virginia. I work with the Army doing mental skills and seeing how we can have our soldiers take these mental skills, allowing them to perform better in their careers and their day-to-day lives. And my connection to the Dental Nachos family here is I was actually Paul's personal trainer a few months ago before I made this trip to Richmond. So I lived out in Philly, and we got Paul fit.
I'll just do 1,000 curls during the show, Kyle, for the old times. Now, pre-COVID, we were working out, and
You were.
I want to ask for a question. So I gave you some Dental Nachos T-shirts. This is a branding lesson for everybody. So I love giving out these T-shirts. So you were wearing this Dental Nachos T-shirt around, and what did people just stop you on the street and stay in Philadelphia, or your clients when you had
people? I've had like the green Eagles colored shirt, then I had a couple of the blue ones, and people would just stop and be like, "What is Dental Nachos? What did you guys do?" So it was a cool way for you guys to kind of get some notoriety throughout the city, and probably brought you guys a lot of traffic, at least to your website.
And to me, it's more, it represents for me, I love people bonding together and connecting. So people actually asked you this out of the blue, or I remember one time one of your clients said, I've seen those shirts around. So to me, I love that opportunity for people to talk about something.
Yep.
You know Philly, I know Philly. Sometimes people are a bit crotchety, and even some of the most crotchety salespeople, they look at my shirt and say, "Oh, what is Dental Nachos?" And they say it in an inquisitive way, and it's an opportunity to have a fun conversation. So like that. So Kyle, we got together a lot before COVID, before you moved. So we had a lot of great talks about, maximizing your business, things like that. What are some questions you have for me that I could help you with?
Yeah, so it's a quick question just for you. What are some of the biggest mental stressors that dentists or dental workers are dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, the biggest stress that we're dealing with now is they've taken a job that has a tremendous amount of decision fatigue. Shout out to Dr. Barry Polanski, who turned me on to this topic of decision fatigue, because dentists are making hundreds of, not thousands of decisions a day, and it's exhausting. And while I'm not a psychologist or have your training, I kind of have this thing like, deciding what to wear may be no different in energy level than deciding what kind of treatment your patient needs. But if you waste a lot of energy making small decisions, that causes a tremendous amount of stress. But with COVID, we've had all new annoyances layered in. So Kyle, I remember back in the day, you would be out in Philadelphia socializing, right? Maybe you went to a club in your day, right? Where they'd have a bouncer. So now we have a temperature check bouncer at our office that's to take temperatures for, again, that's a crazy extra step of stress and frustration. So that's really what dentists are facing: more decisions, more expense running their business, and more confusion. I mean, when people would walk into your gym and work out with you, people have been in gyms their entire lives. Imagine the first time they walk in not knowing what to expect. A lot of that's happened with dental offices during this time because our patients are confused. So that's what I would say: increased decision fatigue, increased stress, and a lot of concern over making your business survive from a profitability standpoint.
100%. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of those conversations between like energy management and how you can put the right amount of energy towards making those decisions that are going to affect you in the moment.
For sure.
All right. Question number 2 we had: what are dentists doing, or what have you done to keep yourselves mentally and physically fit? Like, especially with me, leaving Philly, what are you doing to keep yourself in that?
I feel like I've always tried, and it's not easy to have a healthy body image, and I haven't always had that. You go through times in life where you could spend 5 hours working out, and then you can nap the rest of the day. When you're a dad, you have 2 kids, you own practices, it's challenging. So I tried really hard to be active. So I've tried to take 10,000 steps a day. I get up earlier, go to Washington Square Park, and I walk in the beginning of the day, listen to podcasts. It's my own time. So that's something I've done as a strategy for me, because mental wellness, we bring up our guy here again, your mind, and you do this, it's just as important to keep fit as your body. So dentists will say, oh, I'm going to go to Pilates, I'm going to do these things for my body, but what are they doing for their mind? And I think how you deal with people trying to recover from injury, and that can be a very emotional thing for high-level athletes. Dentists, I think, are having the same thing with their mental. Like I talked about it with some of our first guests. We've had our businesses shut down. Now they're reopened again. Imagine someone from the Eagles had torn their ACL. They couldn't just go back on the field and operate like they did before. So that's some of the challenges. So, I'd like to ask you, what are some good tips that you find with high-performing people on how they can maintain a healthy mental outlook, something they could do every day? What's something that we could do?
I think a good way to start is really focus on the controllables, right? Because what you want to do is focus on the things that you can control, and understand that if you can focus and try to direct that in a right way and not let those things that are outside of your control take over your mind. So really just try to lock down, maybe jot down what can I control, what's outside of my control, and really direct that energy towards things to gain control.
It's a great tip, and that dentists, we have to remind ourselves that during the heat of dentisting battle, when a patient's upset with you. If you think about it, what's interesting about, and I always like observing people. I'm talkative guy. We talked a lot during our sessions. See, people go to a personal trainer and they want to be there. They may give you grief about how hard you work them out or how much torture, but they willingly come and pay a lot of money times to be there. People go and get their hair done. They want to be there. If it takes 3 or 4 hours, who cares? Their kids can stay at daycare longer. Someone will pick them up. But with dentistry, it's actually, for me to bring this to life, for whether you're watching as a dental student or maybe your dentist, say, hey, I'm with you. Imagine all of your clients not wanting to be there and not wanting to pay. The emotional energy around that as a dentist is very difficult to manage. So you have to figure out a healthy way to do that, because we get to do cool things, transform people's lives, transform their smiles, but it's not easy to be working on people each day who don't want to be there. And that's what I would make young dentists aware of, and do some healthy coping strategies like you talked about. Before we jump off, Kyle, if you were to say, hey, if a stressed out dentist called you up and said, I haven't been working out, I haven't been, keeping up with my mental health, what's something they could do to just get started, right, with both? If you said, hey, and they don't need a personal trainer, what would you say? Tomorrow, get started doing this. I'm a big first step type guy. What would you tell them?
Yeah, first step. So whenever I talk to clients from all over the place, I tell you the first thing I need you to do is get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's something that's very, for the most part, controllable. Increase your water intake, and then kind of like what you said, increase that step intake. Those are some small steps that you can start to do.
Those are 3 things that you don't need any money for.
Yep.
You don't need anyone to, and one of the things I've been trying to work on sleep for, because I probably not surprisingly to people, I'm not the best sleeper, but I've at least with Mrs. Nacho, we've been working on I a little bit better, physically putting myself in bed earlier, right? Because I used to stay on the couch watching news, watching shows, and then sometimes it becomes 1 o'clock in the morning before you know it. You're not in your sleep space, so then you go to your sleep space, and next thing you know, you're only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and that can wear on you. So I love that, Kyle. How can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you for their company, reach out to you, learn what you do? What's the best way?
Yeah, so Instagram, KP the Star. And then my brand, my company is Star Performance. So you can meet me at starperformancekp@gmail.com.
Awesome, Kyle. We'll have you back on. You got to come back up to Philly sometime when it's legal here to travel. And I appreciate you spending the time with us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. So our first surprise out of the box guest, but really shouldn't be out of the box guest. If you're a dental student, medium age dentist, seasoned age dentist, if you do not take care of yourself physically for this job, doesn't mean you have to look like you're a model on the beach or that you're an Olympic athlete, but just taking care of yourself physically so you can do this job is so important. One of the things that I didn't realize was how physically demanding dentistry really can be on you, whether you're standing for a long part of the day, contorted in certain positions. Take care of yourself in doing that. So we're ready for our next guest here. Awesome. So we have the awesome Laura here, who has a really unique story. So Laura, bring to life yourself, what you're doing in the dentisting world, and we're fellow dentists. So tell us a little about your dental journey.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me here. So I practiced dentistry for 10 years. We're around the same age. I'm a little bit older than you. I practiced for 10 years. When I got started, I was excited. I was hopeful. There was so much potential for my future. And then 3 years in, I became extremely burned out. And no one was talking about burnout at the time. So I just thought I hated my career. And after 10 years in practice, I knew I just had to quit. There were no other options for me. So it's now been almost 10 years that I've been out of dentistry. And what I do now is I'm a certified professional coach, and I help other dentists kind of navigate the same stuff through their career and figure out like what's going on with me. Am I burned out, or do I hate this? And what are my other options? And it's just a ton of fun.
I love that. I love this topic. I mean, what you just said there for people listening, I know some people immediately said, I would love to be out of dentistry. And then other people say, I wouldn't want to be out of dentistry. So I want to talk about this journey. But one of the things that I talk about is this concept of this is how it's supposed to feel. So I say this a lot. I'm a speaker, and speak in front of a lot of people. And beforehand, you feel this intensity, and that's how it's supposed to feel. Just like if someone was playing in the NFL playoffs, it's supposed to feel intense, but it's also not supposed to feel toxic, right? So, I was a restaurant server. It's supposed to feel fast-paced, but you shouldn't have the chef and the manager demeaning you, right? That's not how it's supposed to feel. So I try to distinguish, and I try to bring this to life to people thinking about dentistry. So if they spent a day with my brother or me or a dentist and saw all these decisions and all these people asking you questions, that might be enough for someone to say, hey, this is not for me at all, or for say it is. So tell us, before you get to your question, how many years you did dentistry for about 10 years?
Yes.
And what was it wasn't supposed to feel this way type of thing for you that you said, hey, I want to go into a different direction?
Yeah. And it's funny because I can now laugh at this, but I used to say, this is crushing my soul and I'm dying inside from this. And my husband used to just say things to me like, well, everyone gets the Sunday night blues. Everyone doesn't want to go to work the next day. And I would say to him, but you don't understand, I'm dying inside. And so it makes me laugh now because that's a pretty strong statement. And when I hear from people now and that they say the same things to me, and it's like that statement comes out, but I'm not sure what to do. And so I think when you're really feeling that extreme,
I love what you here. When you said it was crushing your soul and causing this, what part of you was like, what's an example of that? If you could think back to that time, was it the financial part with patients? Was it the class 2 ring flying off the tooth? What was making you do this? Here, cry on the inside or outside, right? So Tell us, I know our audience would love you to just take us to that time and say, what were those things? What were examples of those things?
Yeah. So for me, it was really feeling like I wanted to help my patients and I genuinely cared for their well-being. And in doing so, I really neglected myself and felt like I needed to be responsible for everything that went on. So if something didn't go perfectly, it was my fault. And I think we tend to, right, like we take the blame, but we don't really.
The outfit is terrible. It's so toxic. And I feel when you say that, I think, I have a thing with my team, get to goodish first. Get to goodish first. When we're at goodish, that's good enough because, I always say this is my example. Somebody goes, if I was your stylist and cut your hair, do you want the best haircut I can do? The best haircut, the most perfect haircut. They say, oh, yes. Raise your hand. And I say, okay, keep it up if it's okay if it takes 7 hours. Everyone puts their hands down. I say, that's the challenge, right? Because people don't want to sit there for 10 hours of work. And what I think is just so poignant is if our patients knew we felt this way, they would feel so bad for us. They would say, don't do this to yourself. It's just my number 30. It's okay if it doesn't have secondary anatomy. I don't even want secondary anatomy. Flat seems nice, right? But we do this totally to ourselves. It's not patient-driven. So I really appreciate you sharing this. What question do you have for me, or what can we talk about from on your end?
Yeah, so I get this a lot, and I'm curious to know what you think is the difference between burnout and actually hating your career.
Between burnout and hating your career, I think that's a really good question. And I think this happens to us in life a lot, whether you're a high-level athlete, even sometimes with parenting. I think one of the challenges with dentistry is you're often like a practice owner is like having a 3-year-old child every day that doesn't grow up. And I have a 2.5-year-old child who sometimes is amazing and says amazing things and sometimes acts like she's the warden of her house and of our house. And however she feels determines how we feel. So what's the difference between burnout and hating your career? Here's like some things that I would think about if I was in those scenarios. One, hating your career means that you don't get any joy out of anything you do each day. That's what I would say, where you're not getting any joy. Well, I have stress, but like scoring the touchdown is doing a great case. Scoring a layup is like someone paying $1,000 for a treatment plan that I got them to do, and I can take the stress with it. So burnout, sometimes you just need a break from playing a sport or doing a career. So maybe there's ways to manage burnout with working a little bit less and doing something else. And I know this is what you do with dentists, because we did a poll on dental nachos the other day, Laura. It was so popular. We said, hey, would you like to quit dentistry totally, do some dentistry and something else, or never quit? And we got some do some dentistry and something else. So I'd love for you to share with our audience, tell us some stories about your clients who have either left dentistry and done something else in dentistry or doing a hybrid.
Well, let's see. There's kind of the typical ones of people who want to teach part-time. So I think it's really important for people to understand that there is no one size fits all for being a dentist. And we all think, people who are associates think that, you're only really a worthy dentist if you're an owner. And then people are ashamed of only working 2 days a week. And I say, why not? Go for it, So I've got some people who are now starting, they've worked hard, they've put in the time, they've built these practices, and they don't want to practice anymore. So they are hiring associates, and and they love the business side of things. And what's really fascinating is they're realizing that they never really put in as much as they could into their practice before, because in getting more patients meant they had to do more dentistry. So they're seeing so much more potential. So those are kind of the basic ones. But other ideas, I talk about like starting side gigs. It's, it can be entrepreneurial.
So people, it's very annoying, but life, you need money for it. It's very stressful, right? You have to pay for food and all these things. So someone says, okay, I'm going to stop dentistry. What are some examples that you've seen of side gigs that pay? I mean, I can tell you about some of my side gigs. I'm a dental practice broker. I'm a speaker. Both of those come with way more work than what people think, right? Whatever's not your job is easy, right? I'll go brokers. You just say buy the practice and it's over. I'm like, well, I did answer 72 text messages yesterday about this, but I have broker, I have speaker. What are some examples that you see with your clients about some other side gigs?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I did. That's how I got started. Is I got very interested in nutrition, and I started a weight loss business. So I went down to practice 3 days a week. And then I for 2 days a week, started this weight loss coaching business. So that's one example. Let me think. What else do I have?
Clients, are they doing anything like salesperson for a different type of company? Are they doing starting their own consulting type of thing? Because I know you have your Lullabies and also your great.
That's a great one. I've got someone who's actually wanting to do a consulting, and hers is more focused on the staff, the team, and how to coach them and make sure they're happy so you can have a more profitable business overall. And she's starting that model within her own practice of taking a step aside from dentistry so she can coach her team. And she is seeing that allowing herself a little more time on the side, she's able to make everyone else happy. So yeah, there's consulting. Consulting I feel like is a very low hanging fruit for us, because if we are good at something, we can then go do it. I mentioned coaching. For me, a lot of people are coaching. I know a couple women who are really awesome dentists. They're doing yoga. They're teaching yoga. And I know someone who's an imposter phenomenon coach. There's a guy who is, I just met recently, who is taking these teeth, these like models of teeth, and putting art on them. And they're incredible. And he's been doing it for a year. He just landed on the cover of the Colorado Dental Association magazine.
I think what I say, though, is people will pay a lot sometimes to solve this feeling inside their body. So sometimes you can have a dental practice owner and you say, do you want to buy a laser or a scanner or a CBCT that's $75,000? And they might say, that's not for me, but I will pay to have my team stop fighting. I will pay to have some leadership. So you never know until you ask where people's pain points are. So there's great positive things like yoga, which also gets with flexibility, but also figuring out a way to help dentists solve everyday pain points is such an awesome way to maybe do something that you love to do. I will share, since we're doing the same thing, we used to only see patients, right? Patients were our clients. And then when you have dentists as your clients, our people. So that is not always a stress-free move. So you also want to be able to deal with the dental mindset as your customer base, because that's a whole, I don't know, have you found that to be a hurdle along the way? Because that's not something we learn in dental school at all.
Yeah, I just love that you asked that question, because it's actually been the opposite for me. For me, it was patient care. I felt so stressed by patients. I felt like I could never please them. I felt like we were their agenda was to keep their money and stay out of my chair. And my job was to do the opposite. And so I felt like I couldn't really connect with them. But when I work with dentists, I feel like we're the same. We get each other. What I went through, they're going through, or something of the sort. And so it's like we want the same things. So I find that it's so much easier for me. But I do see why you would ask that, but that's just not been the case for me.
Awesome. I mean, what's just cool about doing these Margaritas Momentum is just to showcase all the interesting people out there and what everyone can do to help us develop our dentist core. Laura, you have a great event coming up. Tell us a little bit about this event coming up that you have soon.
It is a dentist career conference. It's called the Next Dentist Conference. And it's for people who are curious. If you're curious about how to diversify your career and design it on your own terms, but you're not really, you don't necessarily want to change careers. Or if you are dying inside like I was and you need to change careers, it's a full day conference. I'm partnering with a physician who does the same work that I do. And we're going to teach tips of how to get started, find out if career change is right for you. We're going to have 5 guest speakers, including one of your good friends, David Phelps.
He's great. He's done what, he's transitioned from practice owner outside of dentistry. I mean, you say be curious. It's what we call is you should JFO. And that is not something you say to a patient that's complaining. It stands for just find out. So you should always just find out about if you're so happy when you take that time to just find out. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you. You don't know until you JFO. And so many amazing things have happened. I mean, I do this with dentists all the time. One of the things that bothers me so much, and what you do is we become like resistant to change as dentists, right? I say, hey, you should try this technology to send messages to your patients to remind them for hygiene. And dentists say, that'll never work. I say, why don't you JFO? Then I check back. They go, this was the best thing I ever did. I said, can you just JFO faster next time? Because that's what we should do. Be curious. I love the way you put it that way, Laura. So awesome. Thanks for sharing with us. Amanda, you did a great job. Laura, you can stay on with us for a minute. You can bring up anyone else who's still here. We can have a little team talk around. Awesome. We got Charisse, Lior, Kyle here with us. Awesome. So what I want to ask you guys is our first Margaritas and Momentum. So when 5 million people watch this in the next year, that's what I'm expecting it to go viral. Lior, can you make it go viral? I don't know what that means, but you're young. Kyle, you're young too. You just make it go viral. Is that all that you need to make it go viral? Just saying that. But what I'd like to ask you, what did people learn about someone else? Not me, on their account. So you listen to Laura, you listen to Charisse, listen to Lior, listen to Kyle. I'll start with you, Charisse. What's something you learned from one of the other people sharing on Margaritas and Momentum about their life, or something you found interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody today here really shared some really valuable information. I will just say the thing that really stuck out the most with me, I think, was when Kyle said, focus on the things that you can control. And I think that's such a powerful statement right now, especially during COVID. And, there's so many questions. There's so many things that we can't control right now. But to stay positive during this time, to focus on those things that we can control is really important.
I love that. And I use this I was talking to residents last night. Maybe this would have helped you, Laura, back in the day when you felt like you could never please people. So people complain a lot, right? About everything. So when a patient says, I don't like the way my denture works, I immediately trick them into saying something nice. I go, but how do you like how it looks? You go, I like that. I go, see? If they go, I like how my denture works, they say the opposite. So trick people into saying something they like, a kind trick. And this happens inside and outside your operatory. You have Mrs. Nacho has a friend who says, I can never get any time alone with my kids. We say, one day you're going to miss some of this. So while it's frustrating, focus on that and still find time for Netflix or something like that. So I love that part, Kyle. Perfect. Kyle, how about you? What's something you learned from somebody else here or found interesting?
Yeah, I just found interesting the whole conversation about burnout and just kind of being able to find a way to not remove yourself fully from the situation, but to find something that's going to help you find that sense of fulfillment and that joy so you can keep where you are. And then,
Yeah, I love that. This is probably a time for me to bring up that some of your dreams don't come true, because I wanted to play in the NBA and that did not work out. This is also not a regulation basketball, because I cannot palm the basketball. But I wanted to bring up, when Laura was talking, one of my favorite basketball coaches, Greg Popovich of the Spurs. And what he did with his star players during an 82-game season was intentionally take them out of games to rest them. And Laura, this is what we should talk about with our dental people. And Leora, you should embrace this. So don't be ashamed or feel bad if you need to rest yourself, whether it's mentally or physically. And if your friends say, oh, you're not working 6 days a week, say, that doesn't fit for me, right? Because you can have a longer career. You can enjoy your career more. And I agree with Laura. I mean, even though I fought against the dental student home games my whole life, you get caught up in, you work 4 days, I work 5 days, I produce 50,000 a month, you produce 80,000, and no one's keeping track of this stuff for real. It's all just bad Hunger Game stuff. So I think that resting yourself is so important, and preventing burnouts important. Leora, how about you?
I really appreciated hearing from Charisse and learning more about the Dental Nachos community. It's something that I've only recently learned about, and I just love the Facebook group and hearing what the dentists have to say. And I think it's amazing that you've built this community and for everyone.
And that's my goal, is for everyone to feel better when they go into work, including the team, students, and to use resources. Some people are visual people, want to watch a video. Some people want to listen to it. I want to try to create micro bits of learning that you can really use to move forward in your career, survive and thrive. Stuff I wish I had at the time. So I want to say this is the toughest time to be a dental student in the history of dentistry. But there are assets and resources that I didn't have. So watch this here. We didn't really even have smartphones. So if your 4 friends didn't know an answer, you were finished. You could not go on Instagram and ask them questions. So leverage the technology that you guys do have at your fingertips to get through this, because I didn't have it, and it was more isolating that we didn't have it. So you can go on, whether it's Nachos Facebook group, Instagram, all these places, and bond with people. Really being a leader with that is awesome. How many Instagram followers do you have, Leora?
I think around 1,500.
Nice. So double that next time. So everyone follow. Once we get 5 million views here, you'll have at least 3 million. So no problem. That's what we're going for. And we'll finish up with you, Laura. What's something that you learned throughout the show that you could found interesting or didn't know before?
Yeah, well, I want to definitely ditto everything that's already been said. And I am fascinated about, Leora, your efforts to understanding the true cost of dental school. Having graduated in 2001 and seeing that, a lot of the dentists I talk to right now have $500,000 in debt. And so those are shackles, no matter what. So I think that starting that education for people of what the true cost is can be really helpful to help people even make a decision.
That's so critical because that's full awareness of your life decisions. And I was just on a thread where we're talking about GPR, AGD, and some great dentists who had high self-esteem and genuine transparency said, you know what, I wish I did an AGD. I didn't do one and I'm okay, but I wish I did one. So one of the things in dentistry, we have so much success and failure. If you're a dentist and you're a practice owner and you say to a young dentist, hey, I wouldn't take out $800,000 in debt, it doesn't mean that you hate your career. It just means you're sharing your authentic story and incorporate that into what you do. And I could encourage you and other dental students, Laura, is just find as many stories as you possibly can to learn from, not just the one you want to hear or don't want to hear. Ask good questions. And dentists, while dentists can be tough customers, they're usually very good at sharing their experience one-on-one with people, whether it's through DM, whether it's through FaceTime, to really leverage that. So this was a great show. Amanda, awesome job. Amanda Operation, thanks for this. You can take us off Facebook Live. I encourage you guys to follow us at Dental Nachos. You can do so by visiting dentalnachos.com. And if you want to be a guest on Margaritas and Momentum and share Margaritas with me, just text Marg to 215-543-6454 or email marg@salsa@dentalnachos.com. To my awesome panel, thanks so much for being here. Stick around, guys, but thanks so much for contributing.
Thank you.
Thanks.